Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this masterclass on the French defense by the one and only Anish Giri. I know that we are a bit late and all of you are a little bit upset, but I think, as I have mentioned, yeah, when we are getting something truly special, you have to wait for a bit, and this is what is going to happen today. We are getting world number 10, Anish Giri, to teach us French defense. Now, this is something truly unbelievable. It is just like a month ago, exactly, I believe. Timur Rajabo was here. He taught the King's Indian defense, and now we have Anish. Uh, I am so thrilled, and I'm sure that you too would be. So, without delaying any further, let me get Anish on the board, and this time we'll get the chessboard in there as well. So we can begin right away. Hello, Anish. How are you?
Nice, nice. Hi, Sagar. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anish, it's such an honor to have you on Chessbase India. It's You have been streaming heavily in the last few months, quite a lot. And How do you manage to get so much time? You also made a course on the French defense.
Yeah, there's no time in my life for nonsense.
Oh, that's a
So
nice
yeah,
statement.
yes, because indeed very busy. I've played also in the tournaments, the Chessable Master tournaments and the Legends tournaments, and that took a lot of time as well because I had to play and prepare. So during that and before that, I couldn't do much. But in between, I had some time. I finished the French course, and yeah, streaming. I mean, streaming doesn't take that much time because usually I anyway play some games and stuff, and now I stream that. And as you might notice from my streams, I don't prepare very hard for them in the sense that I am solving my OBS problems as they come. I'm setting up my stream during my stream usually. So yeah, I'm in that sense, because if I would prepare my streams, I would have no time. It's so time consuming. I remember first day I prepared my stream, I spent half of the day. My preparation was longer than the stream. It's very hard.
But you know
But
your
okay.
your viewers are so have got used to it, so it's just a way, like, rather than making doing something which the users will like, you make
Mhm.
the users like your style, like something like that.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Honestly, I don't do that because I think it's great. I think you should have an OBS set up in advance. But I just honestly don't have time. I mean, if I want to stream, I have to do it this way because if I start being perfectionist about the way I stream, then just there is no time for anything else. But that said, for today we did prepare a little bit, so let's get started. Let's get
Yeah,
started. Let's look at some French.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, we have to look at the French. And Anish, I must tell that when Anish Giri name comes to my mind, the first opening that comes is the Najdorf, because you are such a big expert on it. You played so many games. Also, I've seen you analyzing it not only on Chessbase India but also on other. I think there was some game where a move was played and you are like A5 is theory here. You are so well updated with it. So
Yeah, Najdorf is
what's
my specialty.
yeah, what about French?
I'll be honest. Obviously, when I wanted to do a repertoire against 1e4, chessables, um, obviously Najdorf was the first thing that came to mind. The thing with Najdorf is though, for me, I have spent years. Like, if you look in the database, I've become an active Najdorf player maybe from the year 2015 or something. But in reality, I was preparing it from like 2009. I was fascinated by the opening. So I've spent hours and hours, and I have files from 2009. I have some files. I have like in my database like 7 files in a row. I analyze some tabia in the English attack of the Najdorf, and I go into detail, move by move by move by move. And then a few years later, I come back to it, and it turns out that the very first move of the analysis, there's an improvement for white. So all this branching out is irrelevant, and the line is actually losing. I can show you the line. It's not so embarrassing. I was 15 years old.
Okay, wonderful. Let's.
I can show you. Actually, let's show you. E4, C5. It's very funny. I sabotaged my own French stream by showing the knight or whatever.
Once
Knight
again, once
f3.
again, let me just make sure that okay, let's keep the title as Anish Giri on French and do some knight or okay, knight f3 d6.
No, let's come on. It's anti-clickbait. Okay, anyway, D4 is just a nice little example of CD knight D4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. That's knight of bishop e3, e5, knight b3, the English attack. bishop e7, f3, bishop e6, queen d2.
Oops, sorry.
The idea of the concept is very simple. White castle is long, black castle is short. Yeah, so queen d2, short castle, long castle. Knight b7, both sides finish development. White goes g4. That's the point of the English attack. Black goes b5, the point of black's play. So white goes g5, and b4. That's the old main line. That was how they all played back in the day. So that's what I analyzed. They used to play knight e2. Later, I made the move g takes f6 very popular. It's a very strong move. But knight e2 is the but knight e2 was the old main move. I think knight e8. F4. You had did you have Vichy? Was it you who had Vichy Arlington's stream, or was it A5? A5
one.
here.
I remember you analyzing this on Vidit's stream, maybe.
No, but Vichy Arlington had this game with Karyakin. Was it on your stream or on Sagar's or on Ganguly's stream?
No, on it was
Ganguly's stream.
Ganguly's stream, but I had this Q&A with Anand where his best games.
Yes,
with knight.
It was everywhere, basically. Yes. So, but anyway, F5, and that famous stuff of Vichy was A4. It was already there by the time I analyzed it. I think it was topical. A4, knight bd4, I think. E takes d4, knight takes d4, b3, because knight c6 is coming, so b3, king b1, I guess, bc, knight c2, bishop b3, ab, knight a3, and that's around, when Vichy did this rook a4, queen a8, and knight c7. But I had a new idea, not completely new. Can we go a few moves back? It was also in the air, that idea. Instead of going A4 before that, it was in the air. There were some rare games and some kind of computer games, and bishop takes b3.
Yeah,
it was there around. C takes b3 and a4. Slightly different way of starting the attack on the queen side. Similar, but slightly different. And the line went b takes a4, rook takes a4, king b1, and I think rook takes a2 for some reason. And now king takes a2 is for some reason bad. I think it was knight c1 instead of that. And queen a8 check, I assume. Queen a8 check maybe here. King b3 though. Yeah, I don't recall, but this is supposed to be bad. Or it was basically something like rook a2 and then knight c1 was the theory. And then rook dropped back, and then bishop c4, and then knight b6, and it was like 2009. It's embarrassing, but I spent instead of there at some point 5 different moves, and they all had a file, and I spent a week on this position. But the point is,
on this position, yeah,
something like this. Okay. Now the point is, after a4, all the files start with take, rook a4, king b1, rook a2, knight c1, rook a8, and now there are maybe 5 moves. Maybe that was the one.
This was your main one.
Yes. But the point is that there is a move here, king b1. And if a b3, knight c1, b takes a2, of course, old computer didn't realize, king a1, that this a2 pawn is not a strength, but it's just stopping all my play. And this is just lost, because unlike the other line, there is no a file open. And there are 5 of these files, and they can be all thrown out of the window.
That is brutal, yeah? I mean,
it's very brutal.
All hard work gone in the drain.
I hope I didn't miss. I mean, I take it out of my memory from 2009, so I hope I didn't tell the story. But conceptually, it's like that. I think this is exactly like this, but maybe I mix up something. But I think it's like that. And the point I wanted to make is that I studied the Najdorf from 2009 in great detail, and I hope that years of analyzing it made me play it better than otherwise. But it is such a complex opening, and there is so much theory to know. If I'm going to prepare a course on the Najdorf, which I one day might, but if I will. It will take me 2 months to prepare that. And it will take the user 3 years to study it. You understand? It would be a great idea, but that it was just too big at this point in time for me to prepare it, and too big for the students to handle. So that's why I wanted to do a repertoire which is more compact and something you can actually learn within a reasonable time frame, and something I can teach in a reasonable time frame while I have all the other things that I'm doing currently. So then obviously it's very easy to do something in e4, e5.
Yeah, but exactly. E4, that's your other, I think, main weapon after e4.
Yes, exactly. But in e4, e5, the problem is, what is there to do? I mean, there is already so much material out there. It is already equal. What is there to explain? E4, E5, and go to play. You know, I don't need to explain anything. Develop the knights,
just
bishops,
develop
finished.
the knight, this,
Yeah,
play castle.
and this is going to be my series. I say develop the knights, bishop, castle, and good luck. There's no fun in there. Where is the challenge? And that's why I thought French is interesting because first of all, it's not as big as Najdorf. It is relatively small. Secondly, it is still very correct and sound. And third, there is something interesting because there is a strategically complex position, something I can talk about, some challenge for me to analyze also, because in E4, E5, like Petrov or the Berlin, it's already equal. You understand? There's nothing much to say. It doesn't give you, the problem is it doesn't give you great chances greater than other opening, because everybody knows Berlin and Petrov. Everybody with white feels very secure. They know, okay, this is fine position, you know, I'm going to play for small plus, probably not, probably I will not win, but maybe I will, and I'll definitely not lose. But in the French, in the complex French, white doesn't have that security. And so, like, yes, if I'm being honest, neither fascinates me, and I think that's why I play it myself so often. But to teach it and to understand it, it's years, lots of work, and maybe one day I will do it. But currently, it's the French, and I think that it's a very good compromise in terms of time and being compact yet correct. And I think yes, maybe what we will do today, we go over the opening just to see what's out there. They give you a brief overview of the whole French, and then look at couple of games that are
Sure.
good model games.
You know, Anish, on my channel, people are used to 0.5x speed. So when they actually listen to me, when they see it later, they actually make it 2x to listen to me because I'm so slow. And today they are like, we have to make this slow down to 0.25x because you were so quick with all the lines and everything. But guys, you know, this is what I want, Anish. I don't want him to slow down today. I want him to show his level. And, you know, later on, you guys can decode, because that's how a top player thinks. That's how he does it. And Anish, let's go ahead and look at some. By the way,
go ahead.
Anish, I see that you are always doing something, little things, and you never talk about them. And today I see you put the Eiffel Tower behind you. I'm sure that you put it because it's related to French defense.
No, I'll be honest. The Eiffel Tower is there for a while. We have a corner in our house at the very entrance, a very nice corner where we have different souvenirs from different countries. It's a very beautiful corner. I can show you one day. When I start vlogging, you know, and all that, I'll show you one day my beautiful corner.
Anish's future plan.
Yeah, and there are, like, you know, there are different statues from different places that we've been, and that's why we buy sometimes on trips some kind of you know, souvenirs that are nicely. And this is a nice site, so we have this one. And it is there. It's not because of the French. You can also see it on my yesterday's stream. It is there in general, but it fits very well. Yeah, and also it says here, do more of what makes you happy. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes. No, we know that from Sopiko's stream already.
Yeah, no, but again, it's not like a purposeful setup. I always stress to people that I'm not a professional streamer. So whatever you see, or it is not meant like. Unfortunately, I don't put in so much thought and work into the streams as you or even Vidit, who is a professional player, but still does much more effort to do it professionally. And that's why I really admire how you guys are doing it. But in my case, if something is working well, it's excellent. So
yeah, well, it's the perfect setup. We love it.
Sure, thanks. And I want to say, just because I was also worried about when I recorded the French course, that I will be too fast. So I tried to slow down, but I was really happy to hear when they said that there is an option of doing this 0.5 thing.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
or 0.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's very nice that you can slow it down. But mostly, honestly, I was very conscious of that because I wanted to do a good course. I was not speaking slowly, but I was giving lots of explanation on every move. So while the speed of my speech remained high, I tried to make it digestible for players of all levels. That was my idea. But okay, let's
Anish,
look at
can I ask for a small favor? The mic which is to your left, is it possible to bring it this side where you are sitting, like because you're facing in this direction? Yeah.
Here. Okay.
Yeah, that just makes it more clear. Okay.
Yeah,
So
for
we
sure,
go.
for sure. Okay. Yeah. So, if do you, by the way, know any sidelines on second move in the
Yes,
French for white?
yes. D3 is one
Mm-hmm.
that I
Yes.
really do not like, and also Fischer used to play it. I remember, so it's definitely serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think like Karokan, the two knights is really very popular, right? Against the French.
No, but it's there. It's there. Just not to be sure, I'll open my files here. Yeah, no, it's there. It's there. Let's actually look first at the second move alternative. Now, the good thing about the French, which is what I stress also very much, is that I have a feeling, or I'll put it that way. At some point, I was my wife did a series for white against the e4 for white. So then she wanted her series was she was trying to do something very compact and easy to learn and understand for white players. And so she asked me also what are possible lines against the French that are easy, you know. And I tried to find like a tricky sideline or something like that that is easy to explain. And it was very hard because unlike the Caro-Kann or e4 e5, somehow the main line, which is d4 d5 and then knight c3 or knight d2 or e5, is like by far the most critical. So somehow against the French, the way it is, the sidelines are really not so good. Like and that is not the same in Caro-Kann. For example, in Caro-Kann you can play d3, much more dangerous there. e4 c6, yeah. There is even a line like knight c3 d5 queen e2. It's so also kind of tricky, you know. But a bunch of on knight c3 d5 knight f3 is a huge line. That's simply one of the main lines. So the amount of for example, d4 d5 on move 2, e5 bishop f5, and now after bishop f5, white has like h4, g4, knight c3, knight f3, bishop e3.
Yeah.
You know, after h4, h5, c4, bishop d3. Amount of sidelines is much less. Let's look at the ones you mentioned, e4, e6, d3. That's a very famous one. It's called the King's Indian attack because white wants to play knight d2, then knight f3, g3, and yeah, maybe you can make arrows knight f3, g3, bishop g2, short castle. It's like the reverse King's Indian, as you studied with Temur. And white has an extra tempo because he started first. So it's like a good King's Indian. That's the point. And obviously, I could recommend the main line, which is just develop the knight, knight f6, c5, knight c6, bishop e7, short castle. And of course, it's fine. But then white, of course, white who plays this, they know exactly what's going on, right?
Yes.
They know exactly what to do. And while the objectively position is good, computer will say it's equal or black is even slightly better. You know, they will know their plan. And if you make a mistake, they will give you a checkmate. Their plan is rook e1, e5, knight f1, h4, bishop f4, knight h2. You can show, yes, knight f1, bishop of h4, knight h2, and then knight to g4 and h5, and then you know all the stuff they play. I got mated like this as a kid, you know, few times until nobody tells you what to do against it. Yes. They say it's fine, and they say, okay, you have space on queen side, good luck, and then you play and you get mate. So okay, I like this, you know. If not for this, I would have become a top player much earlier. It ruined my childhood, this thing. Okay. But fortunately, I know all that already. I'm experienced, so I share my experience.
You will make sure that other people's childhood is not ruined.
Exactly, that's the purpose of my course, and that's why I recommend after knight d2 to go knight f6, knight f3, and here I propose a very interesting, very modern idea: knight c6, hyper modern way. Usually you don't play like this, knight is front of pawn, but here I use the fact that white has a very timid setup. So if he goes now e5, which is critical, e5, knight d7, d4.
E5, knight d7.
Yeah, if he does this, d and d4, like if he does what position demands him to do, grab space, then he has spent 2 moves on d3 and d4, and he lost the tempo compared to a position, which actually this is a theoretical position. Usually it's white to move here, but now it's us to move because he spent, and now, okay, I don't even, I think just f6 immediately. It's just very good.
Yes.
You're just tempo up. So e5 is not critical, and then knight c6 is okay. For example, if white plays g3.
Yeah, g3 looks more in the spirit here.
Yeah, actually g3 is a small actually it's serious inaccuracy. After g3, I go d takes e4. D takes. I can start. Yes, you can take d takes e4. Bishop c5. Let's say I can start.
Not e5, yeah.
If yeah, bishop c5 is a bit. Bishop c5 is better because after e5, white can actually consider developing the bishop on f5, f1, b5 diagonal, like to b5 or c4. Because amazingly, after bishop c5 on move 6, bishop g2, and now e5.
Bishop c5, bishop g2, e5.
Now e5, I lost the tempo. Yeah, I played e6, then e5. But now castle, castle. This position, it is really remarkable. And I didn't know this consciously. I've intuitively felt it, but I've only realized it recently that the combination of the Philidor opening, which is d3, e4, or reversed, yeah, this d3, e4 setup, and the Pirc opening, which is g3, bishop g2, is just a very bad combination because if you have that structure where you've traded the pawns, the d pawns, and you have the open d file, your bishop is really much better on c4, like in the, or e2 even. On g2, bishop is closed. Now the problem is if the center would be closed, if black had the pawn on d4 and white had pawn on d3, white would remove the knight from f3. Yeah, can you highlight the square d3 and d4? So to show if white had a pawn on d3,
yeah,
and black had a pawn on d4, white would have removed his knight from f3 and gone f4, and that's the king's Indian. But this is not exactly the king's Indian because now you don't have time for it. First, if you remove the knight, you need to move the king, and then if you go f4, starting attack with the open center, attack on the flank with the open center is famously very dangerous for the side starting the attack. It's not correct.
Yeah.
So here, white simply has a bad bishop on g2. There is no justification.
I used to think that in such positions, if white goes c3 and then kind of sort of dominates this knight, plays queen c2 and then tries to go like this, it seems like a viable way to play.
Yes, it's actually, it would give you a small edge if you had a fine bishop. But now the issue is, and let me tell you, look at this. So you go c3, I go a5. Let's say you play queen c2.
Yeah.
Now I have already many ways to play. I can start with queen e7. Let me start with queen e7. The problem is that while you do dominate my knight on c6 with the c3 pawn, your bishop on g2 is very, very bad. And my next idea, very common idea, is b6, bishop a6.
Yes.
And what white wants is ideally to go somewhere bishop f1 back, but then g3 is weakening already the squares. Knight g4 is also coming after rook e1 very often. And if you go h3, then all these pawns are soft. h3, g3 pawns are soft. So simply this type of positions where you have this traded the d pawns and your bishop is on g2 is just, this position actually slightly worse for white. So without knowing where you went wrong, you can check it with the engine. It's just slightly, all engines agree, and it's understandable why, because the bishop on g2 is just bad compared to Italian, where you have a small advantage, very small, because of the dominating the c6 knight. Yeah, it's not a big deal, by the way. It's really not. I can always play knight b8 or knight d8 or knight e7 if I need. It's not a big deal, but it's a small advantage. Now you have the bad bishop on g2. It actually is black with slightly better, sorry. And remarkably, 5 g3 is serious in accuracy. And of course, that's what they will all play, because that's how they play in the King's Indian, you understand?
Yes.
Much better, Sagar, is to play bishop e2, in fact, for example.
It's like this, Jobawa likes to play this bishop e2.
Yes. And
against e4, e5, he plays it.
Yeah. And okay, here it is not so bad. Here it's probably around equalish, but black is very comfortable, of course. Again, compared to Jobawa system, we are a tempo down. But Jobawa system is really not critical. Yeah, it's just it's a very timid way of playing. I mean, from point of view of equalizing, white will probably equalize. But from point of view of black, who wants to equalize himself, we have already long equalized. So this knight c6 is, and I try to approach all the sidelines in this way. I don't want to just tell you what is fine, because the computer says everything is fine. I want to make sure that the opponent is taken out of his comfort zone and out of his setup. I think that's important, because people who play these sidelines, they want their theory and their particular setups.
Yeah, I would like to tell the viewers that actually this is some sort of spoon feeding, like, for example, if you had to find a refutation, or let's say a good antidote against this opening, an equalizing idea. You would have to work for months, and here Anish has actually gone in the details. I mean, to tell you the truth, I really did not know that this is an inaccuracy. I did know that after takes e5 would give black a fine position, but I also thought that white is fine. So this is the level of depth that he has thought into, which is amazing. I don't know, Anish, maybe your sound suddenly went away. Your mic, you did by chance you muted your mic? It's Yeti, but it's naughty, yes? Something happened.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are back. What happened?
Am I back?
Yes, you are back.
With the mic?
Yeah.
The mic, yeah? No, I tell you, it's naughty. It's not Yeti.
Really? So it just goes away?
Sagar, let me, we are promoting this Yeti mic. I spoke recently to a professional, of a sound. And you know that for streamers, it's not a good mic because it picks up a lot of sound from everywhere. It's not like a direction mic, whatever it's called. It's a mic that picks up sound from everywhere. So in fact, this Yeti mics, they're good, of course, but they are not ideal for streaming. Just I wanted to get it out there.
Okay.
I hope I'm going to change my mic because it's being very naughty, very naughty. Yeah. But
D has sent a super chat saying it's 3 a.m. in California, but I'm up for this stream. Excited to learn more about this. Thank you so much.
D, I think D wrote me yesterday on the stream as well.
Yes,
he also super chatted me the same kind of. He said that that time it was good for him. He just woke up
at night. Yes, at 8. I remember.
Yeah,
California,
So,
if I'm not mistaken.
No, D is always there. Thanks for.
I watch all of Anish's stream because when he plays chess, as I already mentioned to him, I get inspired because many of his games he gives it his best, and it's very nice to watch such a top player play.
Thank you, Sagar. Thank you. But I wanted to say that in this, so I didn't know knight c6 is a good move, and I also didn't know. I would not know that g3 is an accuracy. I would honestly not know. I would think g3 is normal, and I discovered it myself while working on the sidelines, and it was very nice for me because when I work for myself and I want to play the French, okay, I know that nobody will play this d3, probably. So I don't even bother so much. I know some standard way of playing, but for this course, they, if you don't cover sidelines, they will tell you please cover sidelines. So you have to cover them.
Yes.
And that's why I spent a lot more time than I usually do on all these lines. And actually it's very rewarding because sometimes you face these lines in Blitz games or I face in Blitz games or rapid games, or even sometimes some strong players, they think they'll surprise you. And then actually you are prepared, and it's very nice. So I was forced to look at them and I found some interesting ideas. Yeah, no, so this is one of the lines. Now I propose we don't spend much more time on second move sidelines. Again, they are very rare, but this is a good example. And if two knights, as you said, just because knight c3, d5, knight f3, you mentioned it. I'll just say what I go here. Just grab space, knight e2, c5. And I think what's important here is that we have flexibility. I have d3, I think I go knight c6, and I can play bishop d6, knight e7 if I need. This is just not very critical.
And then maybe you go e5 and later try for
f5. This is just fine for black, very fine for black. But okay, let's look at 2g4.
And one last, if I don't mind, there are some players who go like b3.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I was thinking to tell you or not. It's not like I was greedy, but not like greedy VD. But I was thinking maybe not to waste your time on sidelines. But if you ask,
there are some players who go like in India. Yeah, I know they go like this.
Oh yes. Oh yes. No, but these guys, these filthy guys, these tricky guys. Oh no, they very dangerous stuff. Yeah, you're gonna lose here a Blitz game 100% in black. 100%.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked it. Very good. I have something for this also.
Okay, fantastic.
No, there are people. Okay, queen e2 first. It's by the way queen e2 first. I think instead of g4, but g4 also possible. Did Amruta do something there in the kitchen or?
No, it's my life.
You're okay because I was thinking something disaster happened.
No, it's
okay. No, I know this was actually one system that I thought maybe to recommend for white when Sopika was asking for an advice. But it is. If it works out, it's very dangerous because you go long castle g4. The bishop is making sure the king is very secure on c1, b1. Yeah. And okay, you just you're getting smashed here. It's horrible system. It's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree.
But I have a very, very strong. It's actually similar. Move 3. on move 3.
Oh, you have to go to move 3. Okay.
Again, I make this unusual move, knight c6. And it's the idea is very, very interesting. Now, if you try to do the same setup, knight c3, queen e2. So if you start with knight c3, now I go d4. And after knight e2, e5, it's very important that this b2 bishop is just horrible. It's staring at this d4 pawn. So while I lost one tempo on e6, e5, you simply ruined your life with bishop on b2 and knight on e2, you know, just completely messed everything up.
True.
So yeah, so this is just, knight 3 is just bad. Instead, you can try to go queen e2, thinking you are clever. But now after d takes e4, it's not exactly the same, because if you play now knight c3, which is you want to take on e4 with the knight, not with the queen. Now I have knight d4 intermezzo.
Yes.
You are forced to take with the queen on e4. And now I play knight f6, and I already developed with tempo all. Knight f6 is with tempo, knight d4 is with tempo. I have just much better version. I don't queen d3. I guess maybe e5. Just already I stopped here because usually it's not like that. Usually you have knight on e4, you know, and queen on e2. And now I just won a bunch of tempi here with the knight moves. So this knight c6 takes you completely out of setup.
Brilliant.
And it's also a good move.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, strong engine like Lila 0. Says minus 0.25 something. Like black is just better after knight c6.
Wow.
So yeah,
so you basically don't give white his kind of positions. You go knight c6 and then white is suddenly at loss. What to do?
Because, for example, to be honest, you can actually go down the knight f6 and analyze that for 2 hours and equalize and show long lines. Say, okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. But you know how it is. Yeah, you will play a game, you forget everything, and you just get smashed as always.
Yeah.
And knight c6, I think it's very, very nice when you can take your opponent out of his setup. He wants knight c3, queen e2 long castle, and now you take him out. Here, best move is maybe bishop b5 or e5, but then, okay, already it's not the same. I'll play knight g7. It's just a different position, and it's just fine for black. But the white's point is gone. What he wanted is not possible. So I think that's very nice.
You know, Anish, I'm beginning to wonder that you made such heavy use of this move knight c6, whether in the advanced variation you are recommending knight c6, but I'm sure not.
That's Sagar. That's the thing. That's the thing about chess. Yes, chess is it's a very concrete game, and you know it's very hard to teach someone something completely universal, because chess is a game much more about your own piece placement. It's about reacting to your opponent, and so, for example, here knight c6 is probably literally the worst move in the position.
Absolutely.
It is completely against the nature of this position, because you need to challenge the center, and by going knight c6, you block your own c7 pawn from going c5. So it only worked there because white went d3 and then d4, and we had the extra tempo to go f6. In fact, Sagar, knight c6 is not that bad probably, because you go f6 next. I was slightly brutal. f6 is okay. Then bishop d7, queen out, and long castle. It's not like it's probably there is some point to it.
Yeah.
But I do it where it's good, and where it's questionable, of course, I change my mind. So let's go at advanced. Let's look at advanced. And e5 is indeed e5. You know, it's one of these lines.
I know that you like playing against the advanced variation, because in the Batumi Olympiad, when one of your opponents, Sarunas Sulskis,
yes,
who plays the advanced variation, you went for the French against him and not for the Sicilian.
Yes. Now, actually, the funny thing is, I was surprised by advanced. I went for the French for other reason. I went for the French. I had very deep psychological preparation there. I cannot tell you my thinking process because it is too, it will reveal too much. But it was brilliant choice. It was brilliant choice to play the French that day. Anyway, so e5, c5. Now, in general, I can tell you honestly, from point of view of structure, c3, from point of view of structure, I'll be honest with you, this position is very, very strategically dangerous for black, because white has space in the center.
Okay.
We have an issue with the c8 bishop, but even if we solve that issue, there is still that strong e5 pawn that supports potentially an attack on the king side. Either f4, f5 or h4, h5. However, by going e5, white, instead of developing a piece, made one more pawn move. And now we are first to develop a piece. We play knight c6 first. And chess is not only a game of pawn structures, but it is a game of, it's a concrete game. It's a game of piece placement as well. So after knight c6, knight f3, I go here queen b6, which is the main theory. And it's very important to understand that, okay, look, if black played, let's say, bishop d7, rook c8, wasted some time. without playing queen b6, allowed white to develop the bishop from f1 to d3, is where the bishop belongs on this diagonal, allowed white to castle and maybe even develop knight b1 and bishop c1, all harmoniously without blundering any pawns, the white would be much better because of the space. But here we don't let him to develop. So for example, if he goes bishop d3, which is what Shulskis did, which is the ideal square for the bishop from point of view of pawn structure. Yeah, the bishop is active on this d3 edge center. Now here we take on d4, important to take first. C takes d4 and bishop d7. Now the d4 pawn was not hanging. You can show to the viewers. The more inexperienced viewers will probably wonder why not knight d4. But the more experienced viewers know because takes, bishop b5 check is discovery. And to prevent that, we play bishop d7 on move 7.
Yeah, so in this position, you must first take on d4. That is important because many times you go
d6,
directly
d5. Yeah,
bishop
d6,
d7, and then there is this issue with castles and b4 coming up. So that's the reason why you first take on d4, and play bishop d7.
Yes. Now you see, viewers, you have to be patient. I see now in your chat somebody says already why French is not good. Be patient. I just started my explanation. So it's some people so impatient. I named one of my streams recently. Sorry to distract you. I named it Fall Guys, and then I wrote after that immediately Fall Guys, and then in the brackets, just kidding, of course, chess. And people come, they say, oh, clickbait, OP, oh, you said you play Fall Guys. Guys, read 4 words, guys. Don't stop after 2 words. Continue, please. Patience. We need patience in this world. We need more patience.
Yeah.
Okay, but Sagar, your viewers are really used to patience. That's very nice. They're very patient viewers.
Yeah, they are actually like, they've been telling me speak faster, and
yeah,
I said, you can speed it up whenever you want. So they got used to it.
No,
so now
nice.
d4 is hanging.
And what Shulskis did, and let's actually look at that. Sagar, I'll be honest with you. I will be honest with you. It's not because I'm evil or anything, or because I want to sell my course to everybody. But I will be honest with you. It is not possible to tell all the variations that are out there in 1 hour or how long we still do the stream, and that is because it's relatively compact opening compared to Caro-Kann, Sicilian, Najdorf, and all that. But it is still, it's a sizable opening. So we will try to go through the most lines. Somewhere we go a bit deeper, somewhere a bit less deep. But of course we will not. I think it will be a good start for you to start playing the French. But of course, I'll be honest. Of course, there is some lines that we will miss in this video here.
Yeah, I want
because
to
there is no time.
Tell the viewers that the idea of this is to, as always, inspire you to make you aware of what French defense is. So what are the key lines, and then you start playing it. And when you understand it, you go and buy Anish's course, because
that's up to you.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not what Anish has said, because as you can say, Anish is here to just speak, but when Anish analyzes something, I know that it's very good quality, and so you should get that, and then you can become a master at it. So that's how I would approach it.
Yes, and I also don't want to make this like like it's an advertisement of the course, because that would be a little bit it would be deceiving the viewer. Yeah, it would be just that you do the whole stream just to advertise your course, and instead of an advertisement, just pretend it's a stream. But that's also not the case, because I do want to explain things. So I will try to do as much as I can and show as much as possible. But yes, indeed, of course, there is, and also people who have the course, they also now and then write. Already did some small update, like this line is not there, or the chess is, I'm as a professional, I know that chess is such a rich game. It's inexhaustible in one opening is not exhausted in one course. And some amateurs, they are naive. They think that if you do a good job as a tutor and you spend your time, you will cover everything. You cannot cover everything. Chess is growing exponentially. Every line is expanded. It grows exponentially. You can go deeper and deeper. But in the course, it is as complete as it should be. I think to have a full weapon. But now I think yes, I'll give a good overview. So yes, this game I played against Sharonas. He sacrificed the pawn. I was a bit concerned because I was thinking maybe there is some. he has something prepared because he played very fast. So he played knight c3. He actually played first knight c3, but doesn't matter. He transposed. I was, of course, seriously concerned because I thought, wow, maybe, he plays fast. Nowadays, maybe he looks something he prepared. But okay, what to do? Yeah, I was here already. So I played move a6.
Yes.
Very strong move to not queen e5. Queen e5 is, I think, the point of the trap to queen e5. He goes probably rook e1. And then he's really ahead in development.
I
and
remember
the knight takes d5.
something like this. And black is still doing okay, but it's... I mean,
but
a6 is much
safer,
more solid. Yeah, much
You
safer.
see, the good thing about probably greedy VD has more to say about this. But if you want to be a greedy VD, it's important to at some point have your limits. Not too much. And if you already have an extra pawn, there's no need to have two.
Yeah.
So I went a6. He went queen e2. Protects the e5 pawn. Now if I go bishop c5, he has bishop e3. So I d8 first to prepare bishop c5, and after bishop e3, I can take on e5.
Yep.
So he went here king h1 to free his f pawn, and okay, still you can see here he's developed very harmoniously, and I have still knight g8 bishop f8, so he maybe has compensation for d4 pawn, but I play bishop c5.
Yeah.
And next I want to play knight e7, and I want to castle, and there is not so much compensation. He went here bishop g5. Already far-fetched, trying to provoke h6. I don't know why. h6, I went. Bishop d2, knight e7. And rook ac1. He doesn't have a, f4 he can play, but there is no follow-up. And now I just castled. So now I complete my development. And here he played move a3. And this is the last tricky moment because he threatens to go bishop e3. If queen takes e5, bishop takes c5, queen takes e2, and then knight takes e2, and the bishop on c5 protected by the rook.
Oh.
That is his trick.
So why do you need a3? Can you not
queen
do
b4? Queen b4. Queen b4 is the
that's
thing.
the point.
Yeah, that's the point. Yes, queen b4. So he was in this game. He was always one move too short. Chess is a game of tempo. So he was like, if he would get one more move, he would do very well. But he's one move too short. After a3, it's black to move. As I said, chess is a game where one plays the move and then another plays the move. And now it's my move. I play queen h4.
Yeah.
And now again f4 he plays. And he again almost traps the queen. Bishop e1, he wants to go trap the queen. But it's my move, and I play the move f5. And now I want to go queen g4 after bishop e1.
Nice.
And if e takes f6, queen takes f6. So in my analysis section, I stop here. I put this game in the model game section. I have 10 model games also in the course. It continues, but main instructive part is already over because we finished the opening. I have extra pawn. I completed the development, and queen is not trapped. Everything's good.
Yeah,
bishop e8 sometimes, yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, even if after a3 he plays bishop e3, you always have queen h4, right? Even
but then there is knight takes d5, I think, isn't there? Some tricks with knight takes d5, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. So it's better to move away immediately.
Got it.
Yes, that's the advanced. Now bishop d3 is not the best move in advanced. Let's just say one more thing about the advanced, otherwise we don't say anything at all. So,
Anish. Yeah. Amruta is an advanced player against the French, and she keeps telling me all the time that advance is the best system against French. You gain space, and she likes to play sometimes bishop e2, sometimes a3, and the idea of a3 is to go b4 and so. I just want to know what are your thoughts on both these main lines, bishop e2 and a3.
Very good question. Now I will. First of all, I'll tell you, yes, see, many people, they think advanced is the best against the French, and they tell you because they grab the space. Now, I totally understand their point. And as I said, from a conceptual pawn structure point of view, if you don't take in mind the development and factors like development and piece placement, which are crucial in chess. If you imagine that the b1 knight is on g3 or f4, for example, if you imagine you develop this knight, you are just overwhelming advantage. You have overwhelming advantage. That's why it's very easy. It's easy to say why white is good, but it's much harder to explain why white is not having an advantage here. And why computer says it's not advantage here. And why at the end of the variations it's not advantage. And why grandmasters have good score with black also. Yeah. And to explain that, you have to look at the piece placement and to think, how can you develop? So conceptually, how does white want to develop his b1 knight and c1 bishop? And knight d2 is never good. It only blocks. Knight a3 I can take on d4 and take on a3 at the very least. Already you ruined pawn structure. At the very least. There's also bishop b4 check. c1 bishop cannot be developed. How to develop? How to protect b2 pawn? So if you start thinking also how to develop the bishop to d3. Okay, bishop e2 they play not because they're happy to play bishop e2. They play bishop e2 because they have to develop the bishop somehow. It's not like bishop e2 is bishop e2, congratulations. Bishop e2 is because bishop d3 is losing a pawn after cd bishop d7, and that's why I play bishop e2. So white has to compromise on his development, and in order to develop, okay, so one way is bishop e2. Okay, bishop e2 is
now actually
now I go,
you guys understand the value of queen on b6 after Anish's explanation. Okay.
Yes,
so
it's not just everybody plays queen b6 and it's put pressure on d4 and on b2. It's very important. So if you imagine that queen b6 was not in the position, black would have to switch to the f6 plan, which is by the way also not so bad. He would challenge the center from that side, but the queen b6 is good. Okay, bishop e2. Now I take on d4, and I play knight h6.
Okay.
And you have a concrete problem. If you castle, I play knight f5. You just lose the d4 pawn.
And you can't develop the bishop to e3 because b2 is hanging.
Yes, and also in general, already if I don't even take, but take on e3, I have bishop pair, I go bishop e7, f6, and you don't have the strong bishop. Okay. I have bishop pair, and after bishop and f6, I will have control over e5 square, full control. So bishop e3 is not a... So after knight h6, you have a concrete issue simply. And
knight c3 maybe here? Yes.
Knight c3 is a move, then I go knight f5. And now you go knight a4, that's theory.
Yes.
Queen a5 check, bishop d2, and bishop b4. And you keep facing that same issue, your concrete issue of d4 pawn is hanging. So this is just not... So the point of bishop e2 line, I can tell you, it can be justified. Instead of on move 8, you can play bishop takes h6.
Yes. And taking on b2 may not be a good idea, right?
It is. I do. I take on b2.
You take it. Okay.
Yes, you cannot trap the queen. You have to go knight bd2. Or also knight c3 is what I added recently, but it's not... knight c3, I by the way added it in the course. Knight c3, I take on before on c3 with the queen, so I have a pawn there. But okay, knight b2 is the main move.
And bishop g7 doesn't work because you simply take it back, right?
It doesn't work. I think I take it back, and the thing is that you lost time. You've made me develop my bishop to g7.
Yeah.
All for this h6 pawn, which is not even a pawn.
Yes.
You just play knight b2, gh. I have this h6 pawn. Nobody cares about it. It's only disturbing. Okay, not disturbs me, but it's just. So knight b2 is the main move.
It's equal pawns also. Yeah. So knight bd2,
gh6, and you can tell to Amruta, you are at least pawn down. For starters, you are at least pawn down. So that initial phase of ecstasy of having that space and all the trumps for nothing. Already now you have no dark square bishop and you're missing a pawn. So it's not so simple. There is here some compensation for white, but okay, we don't have time to look at all of this.
Yes,
there is some compensation, but I propose some very good solution here to have a good position. But already enough to understand that it's not so simple. Move 6 a3 is also not like you play a3 because a3, yeah. But you don't actually play on the queen side even. The point is you want to go b4, and then you release your c1 bishop to develop, and then you can develop everything. And after going b4, you force me to go cd, and then you get c3 square for the knight. That's very important.
True. So what
but after you go a3,
do here?
Yes, yeah. A3 is the main move. Now I go c4. I close the position, and because of a3, you weaken the b3 square.
Wow. But
and also,
Anish, this is strategically, I feel very dangerous. You have to be very well prepared, like what to do, because if you can't generate play here, then white is just going to crush you, right?
Let me tell you how we generate play here, Sagar. I will not show you anything more. I will just, because we don't have much time, I will just show you the 10 arrows, okay? 10 arrows.
Sure.
Okay, so first arrow is knight a5. You control the b3 square. You can select the b3 square, yes. Don't put the arrow, please, onto knight to b3 yet. Yes, just select the square. So next arrow is bishop d7.
Okay.
Next arrow is knight e7.
Okay.
Next arrow is queen c7. You might be wondering why. Because the next arrow is knight c8, knight b6.
Ooh.
Then bishop a4 arrow, please. There goes our light square bishop. Then arrow, please, bishop e7. Too complicated. King to c8 arrow, please. We go long castle.
We go long
then please,
castle.
king b8, and we have completely cemented the queen side with our bishop on a4, knight on a5, knight on b6, and we go long castle. And actually on the king side f6 we will go start attack. And sometimes if it allows us, we go bishop to c2. Bishop gets to the diagonal from c2. Okay, let's not be cruel. Let's just make these moves. I was kidding.
You know, also one last thing, Anish. I remember there's one very famous game of Hari Krishna, also Yusupo, where they kind of get, but not in this position. The pawn is doubled on c5, where they even play h6 and try to don't
say. Okay. We're gonna do it later in the video.
Okay.
Don't say. This is the highlight. Come on, this is my highlight of the Winawer. Don't say it, please.
Okay, sure.
Okay, good. So let's look at the example line. Knight bd2, 7. Knight a5. Bishop e2. Bishop d7. Short castle. Knight e7. Rook b1. Okay, white is trying to go for b3. Queen c7. Rook e1. He wants to go knight f1 to develop c1 bishop. Knight c8. Knight f1. Here I play h6. It's not necessary, but h6 just to stop bishop g5, just in case. Bishop f4, for example. Knight b6. h4, bishop e7, h5. White tries to grab some space, and we go long castle. And next we go rook dg8 and g5 and bishop a4. Okay, who is attacking on the king side is the question. Actually, black. So as you have seen, if you know your maneuvers, you find it's very important that the g8 knight was disturbing. It was taking space away from the pieces. Now it is. It's taken like you take it to j8 to b6. First of all, it gives space because we have little space with black on the queen king side. So he frees the file for rook to d to come to g8. E7 square for the bishop. You don't need the knight there. It just disturbs. It's in the way. The knight instead you send it to b6 and you make sure you go bishop a4. You make sure in fact you stop b3 because b3 is what white wants when you castle long. So your knights are serving a purpose of stopping that, and potentially in an endgame. There were some games when knight from b3 joins to d2, like sometimes in 100 moves, yeah? Or you start playing against the weak b2 pawn, again in 100 moves. But for now, we go rook dg8 and play on the king side, do some attack. So if you know your plans, these structures are not as obvious as you think, yeah? Because you think that white has starting to play on the king side, but it's not so easy.
Anish, I have to tell you, the way you taught this is so amazing, so amazing. I didn't know anything about this line. And within 2 minutes, I feel like I'm an expert because now I know what to do. I know that I go with knight a5, queen c7, knight e7, knight c8, knight b6, bishop goes to d7, a4, bishop e7, long castle, rook dg8. I mean, this is amazing. This is called, you are a great teacher, I would say. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so this is the basic of advanced. And again, as I said, you see, white cannot develop harmoniously because of concrete issues. That's the chess is a concrete game. So instead of advanced, one other minor line is 3 knight d2. Many people ask what to play against it.
Minor line, you said, yeah?
No, I mean compared to knight c3, yeah, the main line, Winawer.
Really?
But 3 knight d2, yes.
Everyone has a big problem against this Tarasch system. Everyone says like knight d2 is really dangerous.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I stopped because people they want to stay dedicated to the French and they play knight f6 here. They provoke e5, knight d7, and then all the stuff that I just showed you, it is not quite the same. Because white can develop bishop d3, knight e2, and knight d to f3, and it's very harmonious development. Okay. Very harmonious. He solved this b1. So compared to advanced, yeah, c5, c3, knight c6, knight e2, let's say cd, cd, queen b6, knight f3. Compared to advanced, white has solved all his issues. You understand? The knight developed to f3 from b1 to e2 basically. Basically, knight from b1 did the trip to e2, yeah, compared to advanced. And our knight is on d7. So it's simply a bad version of advanced, actually, if you look at it like this.
True.
And I played it all my childhood. Okay, you play f6, it continues. f6, f f6, of course it continues. But it was never, always felt wrong to me. Always felt wrong. And I recommend 3 c5. Now, I'll be honest, I cannot, I cannot make the position better than it is, yeah? So it is, it's what it is. So I just made sure we have a comfortable position. But in this line, of course, we are not like, we cannot close the position or anything. We get the position we get. So it's white plays e5, main line, queen d5, knight f3, knight gf3, we go cd, bishop c4, queen d6, castle, knight f6 is the line, main line, knight b3, knight c6, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4. Yesterday I had this position twice on my stream. On the previous, no, yesterday or the day before. No, a6 is a theory. Lots of theory there. It gets very sharp. Bishop e7 is the move I recommend. That's another theory, more new. And by the way, Sagar, can you check from time to time if the sound is good? Because I have mic issue, yeah?
No, everything is good.
It's good. Okay, good.
No problems. At least in the chat, I'm constantly watching. If anyone says there's some lag or something, I have my way of fixing it. So I keep doing that, and I think everything is good. Guys, if you can just let me know whenever there's an issue, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, again, in a6, there are some concrete lines. For example, let me show you after a6 what we avoid. Okay, I have to remember it from childhood. Honestly, I don't recall. I think it's rook e1.
Yes, rook e1.
7, bishop b3, bishop d6, knight f5. Is it that?
Yes.
Bishop h2, king h1, castle, some knight takes g7, something. Yes. Is it that?
Yes. Knight g7, and now rook
d8, queen f3,
more accurate.
Or something like this.
Yes.
Yeah, queen f3. I mean, total bishop h6 check, king g6, c3, knight g4. Or not?
Now I think there's only a few ways.
Knight h5.
Okay,
knight h5. Bishop c2, f5, g4, king h6. I remember, yeah. This was my childhood line. Knight h5.
Yeah, knight
h5. No, I remember. It's my childhood line. Yeah. Bishop e3, f5, g4, and sorry, bishop e3, also bishop f4, g4, knight g3 check. Yeah. This was a thing.
Sorry,
anyway, so when I was a child,
E3? What?
Bishop f4. G4 and knight g3 check. This was also instead of f5, move ago.
Bishop f5, g4, and knight g3 check.
Yeah, okay. You see, when I was a child, they were feeding me all this nonsense, and I was trying to memorize it. Okay, it's total nonsense. Already forget it. I didn't check it for 100 years. I don't know if it works.
What happens here?
Well, you give back the piece, but you try to stabilize the position.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's just forget it. All nonsense.
Guys, he says forget it, but he remembers everything. I can't believe that he studied it.
No, but this position, I haven't looked at it ever since like 2005 or something. I don't know. It was when I was looking at it. But it's all nonsense. Doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant, old nonsense. Nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Space Monkey. Yeah. Space Monkey said, so fascinating. Thanks, Anish and Sagar. So
it sounds kind of funny because I was telling you some line and then suddenly you're like, thank you, Space Monkey, and I'm like, because I didn't read the super chat. Okay. So yes, bishop e7, much simpler. Simply, it's this move was brought to my attention by Kamsky against Topalov in 2000. I think around 2009, 10, 11. I forgot. 2011, I think. And now it's very, very solid. So, for example, if white plays rook e1, we play just short castle. We make sure there is no nonsense first. Of course, we have to develop c8 bishop. But how we do it? For example, there's a more instructive line. Instead of rook e1, can you play c3? It's a bit more instructive. c3, short castle, and queen f3, stopping development of c8 bishop. Now, very instructive. We play queen c7. Attacking the c4 bishop, it's typical move. C7 protect b7 and attack the bishop. He goes bishop b3, and here let me check just to be sure I don't mix it up because it's important. One moment.
There are always ideas where you can go b6, let the queen take, and then go bishop b7.
There are exactly, but not here. I think it's not here. Yeah. That's exactly why I was thinking. No, here it's what I remembered. There is a line with b6. It is not here. It is not here. I can find you later. But here we play a5. Very, very strange, very strong move. We want to go a4, rook a5.
It's like you are giving up this.
Horrible.
I mean, if he does this.
Yes, no, exactly. So you want a4, rook a5, he goes a4, obviously. Now, there are two reasons why this is a good inclusion. And there one is tactical and one is positional. It's remarkable why this is a good inclusion. It's shocking. To me, it's shocking. But a computer says it and people play it and I understood why. So here we go bishop d7. First reason is if you go bishop f4, we play bishop d6, takes on d6, queen takes b7. Now I go rook a b8, queen f3, let's say, and e5. Now if you imagine that pawns were on a7, a2, b3 bishop would be protected.
This is the tactical reason.
This is a tactical reason. Now it's hanging, so I win back the pawn after knight b5, bishop b5, it's equal. While black is even slightly more precise. Slightly
Because
heavier.
this is attacked. Yeah.
Now the other reason is 15. Let's say you play 15 rook e1. Remarkably, it's even positionally good because okay, now rook e1, I play queen b6. It's very important to keep bishop on b3 under tension. And if you go bishop c2, the b2 pawn will be under tension, so you cannot develop so easily the, let's say bishop c2, I don't know, rook a8, let's say. And then after bishop moves, maybe take on b2. Not so easy. So instead of bishop c2, I looked at the move 16, bishop f4. And now I play bishop c6, knight c6, bc. Otherwise bishop is very strong, yeah, on this diagonal. So here you take bishop pair, now bishop c4. Here you think that white is better, yeah? I would think that white is better at first, if I didn't understand this. Because white has bishop pair and a good pawn structure. Now if, okay, b2 I cannot take, but because of concrete reason, yeah? There's queen is trapped somehow. Rook b1, bishop d3, and bishop h7. Rook e b1. Yeah, and bishop d3, bishop h7. So this is not a thing. I'm talking about position. Okay. So instead of queen takes b2, yes. Imagine if we had pawns on a7 and a2, and bishop was still on b3. White would be better. White would be better because he has a bishop pair and a good pawn structure, and there's nothing we compensate for that. But here we play knight d5. And now it's very important.
So just to explain the viewers that here, it looks, I mean, even for me, Anish, it looks completely bad. You give the opponent bishop pair, you have this weak pawn here.
No, even for me. And it looks for me also bad for black. If I don't understand what's going on at first. But I play knight d5.
Yeah.
And now you just move the bishop somewhere. Let's say you move it. Yeah, let's say you move to g3. Now already
I can take, yeah? Maybe.
It's not. Let me just check it because I have to make sure we don't blunder our queen here. Let me just check it because I might be able to take already, but that's not the main point I want to make. Let me see 1 second.
So then let us be very safe and play bishop c1.
Yeah, Sagar. Bishop g3. There is an issue of queen b2 because the c3 is hanging later. So let's play bishop c1.
Yeah, bishop c1, defending the important pawn.
Yes, even after bishop g3 without taking the pawn, black is fine. But let me explain why black is conceptually fine here. See, when we look at this position, we see a very strong knight on d5, but we don't. We of course think that it's not an outpost because white pawn is not on d4. Let's say if white pawn was on d4, we would see immediately this is an outpost for the knight, right? And then we would understand black is fine, yeah. But here we think that, of course, pawn is on c3, so it can at some point go to c4 to hit it. But now you realize with pawns on a5 and a4 included, c4 will weaken the b4 square terribly. So in a strange way, d5 is a secure outpost. Only because a5, a4 is there. So because of that, we actually have this very strong knight, and white cannot make use of his bishop pair. If he goes bishop d3, we can always play g6. There is no use for the bishops. And here a5, a4 is a positional inclusion that's very important.
Brilliant. I think
it's very hard. It's a typical thing, Sagar. In some position, let me show you also one position. I want to show you an important one in Benoni. Let's look at Benoni, d4. Just this idea is very, very common. It's I noticed it recently. I never thought of it before. Let's play d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, e6. Let's play knight c3, ed, cd. Let's play d6, e4, g6. Let's play f3 for argument's sake. Bishop g7. Let's play knight e2, knight b d7, knight g3, knight e5 for argument's sake. Now in this position, white wants to go as a plan f4, h3, and f4. Kick the knight away. If we imagine that white has pawns h4, h5, so play h4.
So maybe we can do like h5 and then white goes h4.
Yes.
And then you jump here.
Yes. Now it's the same thing. This knight on e5 is a monster here. It's a complete monster because f4 always weakens g4, where it's even worse. The knight on g4 is a monster. So this inclusion of the side pawns, stopping this f4 and there it's c4, it's a theme. And
brilliant.
The knight, it looks the same, but the inclusion of these pawns makes it a monster. You understand? It turns into a monster. So this is a.
It's so amazing that your move h5 is not just fighting for space here, but actually for the e5 square. Same way when you play a5, It's actually fighting for the d5 square for the knight. Wow.
It's absolutely. I never knew this. I just recently, last year, at some point, I realized in one of the lines that this h5 h4 inclusion is just huge for knight on e5, and then I realized it's a thing. Many different positions.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's very deep, and it's by the way it's not in books. Yes, such this thing. It's a new thing. I never read about it before.
Amazing. I'm simply amazed. Simply amazed with what
I was completely shocked when I discovered it. Yes, it's simply a new thing. Okay, I think enough about this. You got the gist of it. We develop all our pieces. I have a simple position. It's not closed. The main body of the French and of my chapter and of the time I spent of my course and the time I spent on the French is knight c3. Now I'll tell you why I spent so much time on knight c3.
Okay.
Knight c3, bishop b4, e5, c5, the main line. That bishop b4 is main line Winawer.
You were sure that you want to teach Winawer, yeah? You didn't want to take on e4 and play all these lines.
Yeah. No, for me, take on e4 is Rubinstein. It's just a very bad version of what we just saw. You want to eventually get c5, and get the same structure.
Yeah.
But White has so many plans here, so much more flexibility. He has long castle plans also. It's very dangerous, long castle. Bishop e3, queen d2, long castle, very dangerous. And it's super hard to equalize. And already knight d2, many people say is an issue for them.
Yeah.
And here it's even more. No, the only choice is knight f6 or bishop b4 for me. But after knight f6, e5, we get this typical French position where it's just it is this typical French, how to say, with this bad c8 bishop that you have to solve, and White has no White has no weaknesses.
Again, you kind of lead into similar positions where you keep.
It's what Amruta is happy with. Yeah, we don't want to make Amruta happy here. Okay. And I want White to suffer also. And after bishop b4, now if he goes e5, which is the main line, I cover also, of course, all the sidelines. There are so many, you can't imagine, man. It's a gigantic chapter. Like there is a3, bishop d2, bishop d3, queen d. All I can say is that if ed5, which is what Hare Krishna says in his, I equalize there. I can show you how, by the way. Ed, very instructive way to equalize. So Hari goes, I think, bishop g3, I guess.
Yeah.
Knight f6. I think knight g2. He says castle. I go, I think c6. Hari goes, I think bishop f4.
Anish, I have one question here.
Yeah.
I'm always worried when White plays a move like bishop g5 and pins me. And I feel like how to get rid of such a pin? Like, should I have to come back with bishop on e7? That looks passive. I mean, is it something that one should worry about? Because many people, before even going knight f6 or immediately, they want to play h6. It happens here and also in exchange French. Like when they play exchange French.
Yeah. No, this is, I can tell you. Let me just check one thing. I look at bishop g5 as well. Let me tell you. Yeah, I see. The thing is, chess is a logical game. Yeah, logical game. In what sense? Playing move h6 too early is not good because you're supposed to develop first. Yeah, you're not supposed to play these deep reflective moves, and there will always be a concrete justification. So somehow h6, it's good to stop bishop g5. But it's wasting time, and bishop g5 is the same. Bishop g5 is it is premature, and okay, there is a concrete justification here, and it's an important line that you pull out, by the way, important line. So rook e8 here. In the course, I say rook e8 first, then c6. Doesn't matter. It's the same. Now there is an important subtlety here. It's okay to play. Okay, White goes knight g3.
Yeah.
It's okay to play h6, but it's better not. Look, knight bd7. I wanted here to give very nice subtlety. Knight ce2. That's what White does. His knight on c3 is bad. Yes. And he needs to reroute it. So this is typical knight ce2. Yeah. Now we go knight f8.
Okay.
White goes c3. Again, c3 is typical. He needs to strengthen this. Go bishop d6. And now let's say White plays queen d2.
And knight h5, you have bishop
knight
e7.
Knight h5 is a good question. I have two things. I have bishop e7, first of all, completely fine. Also, there is some bishop takes h2 option here. King h2, knight g4. So king h1, it becomes sharp. King h1, computer says bishop g4. Some mess.
It's then equal. You are okay to take double.
Knight f6, gf. Yeah, okay. It's but bishop e7 was very equal also. But the main point is, let's say you play queen d2, you just strengthen your position further. And here I use the fact that I didn't go h6. I played knight e6. And now I indirectly got rid of the pin, because if bishop h4, I have knight e4 suddenly, using that queen on d2.
This is called uncompromising play. Like, you don't waste time in h6 and you find a way to somehow let your opponent.
And Sagar, what's very important is that this bishop on g5, it is dangerous in combination with something. In itself, it's not dangerous. The pin in itself is not dangerous. The pin is dangerous if white would, I don't know, bring the knight to e5, go f4, or if he would have, or he would put the pressure on f6 knight with knight h5, like we saw. But then we have bishop e7 or bishop h2. So you should not be afraid of just the pin. Pin is just a pin. Yes. You should be afraid of a pin supported by something so pin in itself, pin is not an issue. In itself, pin of a bishop against a knight in itself is not a problem. So yes, bishop g5 is solved this way. Nice stability. I like to not include h6. It's not always nice. It makes you feel very smart that you didn't include something because of something. Hari goes 8 move h3, rook e8. Again, my course, I first say rook e8 and c6. I don't think it matters, but it's fine. Rook e8, a3, bishop d6, bishop f4. This is Hari Krishna. He wants to play, play for very small advantage. Very small. I mean, advantage is so small, I don't even see it. But okay, Hari Krishna says, I have good bishop on d3, you have bad bishop on c8, yeah? And we take that last thing away from him.
Really?
We make a novelty here with the move b6. Ooh. And we go bishop a6. And now even Hari Krishna can say nothing here. It's completely equal. Nothing is going on here. So
I think the only thing Hari can say is, I'll play for 100 moves and play.
No. If the thing is, if you play Hari Krishna, don't trade queens. Don't trade the queens. Even here. But if you play anyone else, you can trade queens. It's completely equal. Okay.
Okay, got it. So coming back, this is not the critical line. E5,
no. Everybody E5. Goes e5. Yeah, and now c5 is the move, and white needs to protect the d4 pawn with a c pawn. Yeah, like with c3 in the advanced. Here he cannot do that, so here he has to go a3, provoke bishop c3, and b takes c3.
Yeah.
And now he protected the d4 pawn like massively. He has full control of d4, e5. We have no dark square bishop. But he has the c3, c2 weaknesses. And that's what we don't have in the classical French with knight f6, but in the Winawer. That's why here, Winawer, it's an insanely imbalanced opening. It's one of the most imbalanced positions because it's totally asymmetric.
Can I say, like, it's one of the craziest opening I've ever seen, because first of all, you give your bishop for the knight. Secondly, all your pawns are on light squares. Thirdly, you give space to your opponent. All of this for what? Just a double pawn?
No, but Sagar, but imagine. I go b6, bishop a6. Okay, not here, but imagine, just to explain you, for example, strategically, why strategically you cannot argue. We trade the bishops, then look at this c file. Even I go, let's say, one day CD, and then I plant a knight on c4 and put pressure on the c file, on the open c file. If we imagine ever that this is going to be an endgame simply, Hari Krishna will destroy you with black here because of the weak c4 square and the open c file.
Yeah.
Honestly telling you, while you are mentioning bishop pair in close position, not so relevant. Let's be honest.
True.
Space, relevant if you castle kingside. I'll tell you the only real issue that I see in Winawer is the king safety for black.
Okay.
If the king goes kingside, more often than not, we are toast. Because he goes queen g4, bishop d3, knight f3, bishop g5 also sometimes, also h4, rook h3. Like, he has so many ways to develop the play on the king side.
Agreed.
So the way I see Winawer... Sorry, 1 second. My wife came.
Sorry.
You need something?
I really need my computer.
Yeah, okay, I'll give her computer. Guys, priorities here, yeah? It's priorities.
Yeah, of course. That's
also, if there is like a tea standing there that nobody wants to drink, it would be nice if you bring it here.
Oh,
okay, cool.
I think it will work by itself.
It will work by itself? No, it's better if you bring it, I think.
Amruta, can you get some tea for me?
But you don't drink tea, no? Bobby Fischer had said.
No tea for me. See, Anish, this is like super GM, yeah. Like
Don't. Amruta didn't bring tea to Sagar, but I think she did very bad. I think people will say that it's not very nice. So
Regards to Sagar.
yeah, regards to Sagar.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Amruta.
So Pico, wonderful to hear you. Hear your
Yes, you can hear her voice. And can you close the door? You can close the door. It's okay. Thank you.
Tea is coming by itself.
Okay, no, it's fine. You can now keep the door open as long as the tea is there. Okay, guys. So the way I understood Winawer, in fact, we can even, like, conceptually, we can even play c5, c4. Imagine c5, c4, and we do that very often under right circumstances. Of course, you never release the tension without getting something for it, like an extra tempo. For example, when bishop is on d3. But conceptually, the only issue with this closed position, the only real issue is the king safety.
True.
But if we go long castle and bring the king to a8, you cannot do anything with your open b file because you don't have pawn breaks. I can play pawn on b6, knight to a5 or something like this, or pawn on b6 and knight to d7, protect the pawn on b6 and go a5 with pawn on c4. You will never be able to attack me. Yeah, so you don't have queenside attack ever. Open b file is fake. Yeah, it's open, but it's fake. You cannot do anything because you need to support that file. You can only put one rook there, and there is no pieces. White can sometimes go a4, bishop a3, bishop d6. That could be a small issue. A4, bishop a3 after c4. But basically, if we are in time to go long castle, and we can even close position with c4, we are fine. All what you mentioned, the space, I don't care about space on the king side. It's not where you attack. I will just play rook dg8 and f6, g5, all that. And the only issue is that I might not be in time. So if I play here knight e7, the main line after knight e7 is queen g4. The problem is queen g4. It's a huge problem in the Winawer. You attack the g7 pawn, and I'm not in time to like, for example, if I could go rook g8 and knight c6, queen c7, bishop d7, long castle, I'd do great. But I think rook g8 is not even a move. I guess bishop d3 is there. Bishop h7 is simply not just not in time. So some people solve this problem by going short castle, but that's just conceptually, as I told you. I castle short in my course very, very rarely. This line, this is a big variation that was played many times by many great players of the past. But from my analysis with latest engines, this is a disastrous variation. It's a horrible variation. It is also strategically wrong, I think. You should not castle short unless you get something for it. The only way to deal with queen g4 is to go queen c7 or cd4. It's the same, queen c7.
Yeah, also if you go g6, it weakens.
Yeah, no, this chronicle. This then you can never. You cannot weaken this like that. You cannot. Then f6 break becomes much less. See, Black's point after he castles long, he needs that f6 break because he needs some break. Yeah, he needs some play, and his play is going to be f6. So we play queen c7. After queen takes g7, we play rook g8. Queen h7, cd4. This is the main tabby of Winawer, and this is already nothing to do with what you said at the start. You know, the bishop pair, not bishop pair. It's like it's just completely
very
random.
Concrete.
Extremely concrete. And the main issue here for white. So he goes, let's say f4 is the main line. Sorry. 92. Yeah. Sorry. 92, knight bc6. Now f4 is the main line. Bishop d7 or dc3 first. dc3 first, let's say.
Yeah.
White usually returns the queen d3.
Yes.
This is the main line. There were many sidelines, which are, by the way, major lines. But the main line now here, the new move, fashionable move, is d4. And the way I played it as a kid was bishop d7. Now see, instead of d4, d4 main line goes knight takes d4. Knight takes d4, queen takes d4, and it's something very, very concrete. You see further changes happen.
I think Surya has played this many times with black, right? And he has.
Yes. And this variation has been.
Your mic. I think maybe it will come back. I don't know. Maybe you do something like. It's back. It's back.
It's back. Yeti not here again or what?
It's back.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. I'm looking forward to new mic. This is disaster. Okay, so now it's good. It's on. Okay, excellent.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So this position, yes, heavily analyzed. Many correspondent games where people use the computers and spend like 10 days on move. and they try to refute this. It is working for black.
Okay.
Very, this is a very high-end concrete position. You understand? It's move by move.
True. Again, I think the sound, yeah. Yeah, we are back.
Wait. It's back now?
Yes, we are back.
Yeah. Yes, but this is the modern way, and I looked at it at great detail also in the course. But I also wanted to make this move bishop d7, 12th move, an old move, because it's supposed to be not very correct, not fully correct. But it's how I played in my childhood, and it leads to very fascinating positions, very, very fascinating. The ones where there is much less concrete theory, there is much less corresponding games, much less engine interference, and just very little theory and a lot of room for exploration. And I was thinking it would be a challenge to try and make this variation, which has the reputation of being old and not so correct, to make it work. And so in my course, I give two options, the main line and also this move. And I spent a lot of time here, and I think I managed to make it playable for black.
Okay.
Which is very nice.
So I'm just wondering, is the main line here queen c3 or rook b1, rook b3, something like that?
Yes. So in this position, there are two main moves, and knight c3, queen c3, of course, and also rook b1. Yeah, rook b1 is just.
Okay, if we go for moves, instead of that, I have to I try to explain this in layman's terms, what I understand, and you can correct me, Anish. Okay, I am actually seeing that black king will be very safe here, and I have this very strong pawn. So basically, my position is very sound, but I will lose this pawn, so I will be a pawn down. At the same time, this h pawn is always a big risk because it is coming down the board. And what exactly is black aiming for? Is he aiming for an endgame? Because in an endgame, this h pawn can be dangerous, and also the bishop pair could come. This king is weak. So are you trying to play a middle game? But then in the middle game, maybe, I mean, it's very confusing. What is black trying to do?
It's not so confusing. You named everything very well. You just didn't draw the right conclusion at the end. As you said, because of the weak king, that's why we don't go to endgame, and we are playing against the king. So our long-term idea. Sorry, one second. My tea is coming. Maybe. Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's okay. Yes, Sagar, don't be jealous. Yeah, that I have tea. Please don't be jealous. Yeah, you don't have to watch. Don't watch me.
I have water. I'll try.
Okay. So, yes, thank you. I think it's okay. Maybe briefly, on the lowest. Yeah. So,
what's the timestamp? 1 minute, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Please watch it later. Yeah.
Yes, very nice. Guys, do timestamp, please, in the comments later for Sagar. Justice for Sagar's tea. So, what's very important, Sagar? I think, Sagar, if you record the course on French defense, you also get the tea. So maybe it's that. So you said everything right. White has a chronic issue of the king. His king is safe nowhere. His pieces are uncoordinated to facilitate the king. Like, what I mean is that if he wants to castle short, he will waste a bunch of time. Also, if he wants to castle short, he should not forget, I might go d4. You will not win this strong c3 pawn. So there are games. I saw one model game of Nepo there. Nepo lost against Vitugov in my course. Nepo tried to go g3, bishop g2. And he never got this. Black went d4. Later, black managed to push the queen away and push d3 also. And then got the c3 pawn very strong. So he never got rid of these pawns. So if you first get rid of the pawn, then you will not be in time to castle short anymore. So you have chronic issues of king safety. And how does black exploit it? Now the position is quite closed. In the long run, black intends to go f6, e takes f6, and e5. That's one of the major plans. Knight will be then on f5, and bishop from d7 will go from e8 to g6. Okay. This is one of the major plans. Another thing is knight f5, d4, some knight e3. Knight just sometimes jumps in. After you take on c3, I go d4, some knight e3. You can imagine that. Another thing is knight f5, knight a5, knight c4. And then d4, and then again knight jumps into e3. Another thing is after knight a5, imagine knight e5, knight c4, let's say bishop comes to c6, and you go d4. And then the bishop gets active on this diagonal. Now, okay, there's a lot of words, but lots of lines. I propose to look at a fascinating game played by Surya, young Surya, 2007. I don't know how old he was, but he must have been young. 2007 was a very long time ago.
I think he would be 34 back then. No, sorry, 24. He is 83 born, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, I got an apple to eat, so healthier than.
Apple. No, I thought you meant like I got an Apple Watch or something, but you just got an apple to eat. Okay. That's also good. Because I thought you were like, by the way, I got an apple. I was thinking like, I got an Apple Watch. No, I got it for my birthday. So I got an Apple Watch. But you just said you got an apple to eat. Okay, that's also possible. That's also cool. Okay, cool. Very well. Okay,
so Surya versus, who's the opponent?
Volokitin, very strong Ukrainian grandmaster.
GM.
Volokitin famous for being a huge theoretician back in those days, especially. Now I don't know. He doesn't play on top level. But at some point, Volokitin was considered by Ivanchuk also one of the most talented players. Simply, period. One of the most talented players. I think not of just Ukraine, but simply out there at some point. At some point, Volokitin had this massive opening prep, just insane opening prep. And started playing at the top level. This Aerosvit, there was a tournament, and he was just shooting up. And he seemed to be like so very, very strong player. Anyway, Queen takes c3, long castle. Rook b1. Rook usually goes to the open file.
Yeah.
Knight f5.
Makes
Rook g1. Oh, by the way, wait a second. This is not how I. Oh, okay. It's very funny because this is not the move order I recommend. In my course, I recommend the move 13 knight f5, rook b1, then d4. It's very important actually to start like that. D4 is very important because I'm first asking the queen where it goes. If it goes to c4, queen c4, I have queen f5 check. If it goes to d3, only then I go long castle.
But what happens after bishop d2?
Yes, lots of stuff happens. Really, lots of stuff happens.
Okay,
queen takes a3. Queen takes a3. Rook b7. Knight e3. Queen d3. Main move. Otherwise, bishop e3, de. Queen a1 is threatened. Queen d3. It happens. Queen takes d3. C takes d3. And here I recommend a
a5
novelty. I think it's a5. Let me just see how. Yeah. It's a5. I think it's g3.
Knight e5.
Knight takes e5. Knight takes e5. f5 bishop 6. So you go knight takes d4. There's bishop c6. So you go knight takes d4 instead of that.
Instead of g3, yeah.
No, 1 second. Sorry. I think it's g3 knight e5 and then knight takes d4. Let me just see what's. Sorry, it's very slightly confused because I am wondering about one thing here. Queen c4 is very critical. Let's look at that. a5, g3 knight e5. Yeah, knight d4. Knight takes f1. g3 knight e5. Knight d4. Because you know what I was wondering why I paused? Sorry. If you go fe5 instead of knight d4, I play bishop c6, of course. If you then go knight d4, I take one rook and the other one is still hanging. I'm exchange up. It confused me. Yeah. So that's why knight d4 you play 21. That's why you have to play it. Knight takes f1.
Knight e5, knight d4, knight f1.
fe5. Knight d2, king d2. And now there's a very nice way to simplify rook g4. I need the c6 square for the bishop. And now if king d3, rook takes d4.
Oh, wow.
King e3, otherwise rook c8. King e3 was better.
Sorry.
Rook d4, king d4, bishop c6. And then I take the rook and I have a rook behind the pawn. And I'll distract your pieces and take 2 pawns on the king side and it will be equal. Yeah, king comes there. It's equal. So this is important theoretically. And after d4, 14, white can play
deep
queen.
Analysis.
Yeah. No,
this went till move 25, yeah?
Yeah, this is very important. A5 is an improvement over correspondence game, just to make a clear equalizer. Very important. But White has to know also, all of this to be not to be worse. He could. It's on move 18. He could go bishop e3 also, and then d takes e3. It's very sharp again. Yeah, so it's not so easy. And then it's already double-edged. Queen a1 is threatened. But okay, queen d3, move 15. That's the main move.
Yeah.
And then I castle long. And then white goes rook g1. And now we are in the position of Surya. And I included this game. I never realized that this game was played with different move order. The order that Surya used, 2007, it was not accurate. But okay, back in the day, it was difficult to analyze. Different engines, so much less games. Okay, of course, he played an accurate move order. He used the move order long castle, but then white has extra options, that he didn't use.
Here, instead of long castle, which Surya did, or maybe first before knight f5, he played long castle. Yeah. But here it gives white extra options. So Anish recommends to go knight f5 here and then play d4. Queen d3
and only after queen d3. Yes, because otherwise against d4, white would have queen c4 after long castle, so it would be different. But it doesn't. For purpose of this game, I wanted to show a instructive game, and it's also very critical. So here Surya played knight a5. This is a great move. I think he was prepared. g4. In these lines, it's very often about white going g4, destabilizing our f5 knight. If the knight on f5 is
collapsing,
has to go back, we don't have enough compensation.
So usually guess the move right now. Like, I really don't want to come back to e7. That would not be in the spirit. No. So we go in knight e3 or knight h4, either of the two.
Yes, it was what you would think. But you have to think deeper. Think like Surya. Think like Surya here. Sagar.
Okay, Surya would say that gf5 is okay because this I may get some tempi here. I have bishop a4 perhaps attacking c2. Something
guys,
like...
So whenever, guys, you don't know a good move, ask yourself, what would Surya do? And immediately it works. Bishop a4, exclamation mark.
Wow. What would Surya do? There is one guru in India. He makes these bands. And he's called Baba or something. So he has the band called WWBD. So whenever you are in a tough situation, you look at the band and you say WWBD, what would Baba do? And you get the answer. So we can make something like WWSD.
What would Surya do, yeah?
Okay. So bishop a4.
Sagar, here, C2. Honestly, if we want to cover this position,
we need hours.
We need hours. Let's look at the game. And the game is also one of the very critical lines.
King d1.
White went.
Then you have
93. Yeah, the b file is open. It's finished. c3, one of the moves. Now c4 is also a move, and gf is also a move. But c3, here WWSD.
Okay. So d into c3 would be met with queen into c3, and I'm not very happy. WWSD if is bishop c2, queen c2, d3.
Did you know it or you found
it? No, really. WWSD really works. Really, I have not seen
works.
This game.
Okay, bishop c2, queen c2, d3. Brilliant idea. Queen a2 here was played. And now, okay, let's try WWSD. It's hard. Seriously hard. I don't know if I would find this. Just I think Surya knew it, or I don't know.
WWSD for Sagar would mean D into E2, but
of course. D into E2 is what you would expect. Exactly. Yeah, but not, the move is just.
So Surya would do is he would not take it and he would play knight C4 because he wants to go D2. Is that right?
Also a logic. No, but it's. Let me just turn on the engine here, just to be.
Maybe knight D4 is
to see how necessary this move is. Yeah. By the way, Sagar, it's not. It's not. Knight C4 is a move. D is also possible, but the best move, by far the best move, is the move he played. No. Knight C4 is the second best. It's an okay move. Then Bishop G2 happens, and B7 is hanging. No, but the move he played is just it was theory. There are 18 games here, and he must have known this because it's super hard. Or maybe it was one of these brilliant games. That was the first one. But he went here, Queen C5.
Ah, yes, attacking the rook. So the knight.
G1 rook.
But what about knight D4? There is queen takes C3 check. Okay.
Yeah, knight D4 is not. let me see, just actually, because these positions are so complex. Yeah,
Yeah.
knight d4, queen c3, queen d4. So here, white went rook g2. Now again, Surya does not lower the heat, What does he play?
Knight h4 is one idea. Again, knight c4.
Knight c4, I think is gf is there. There is not enough thing.
Okay.
gf is there.
Can we go knight e3?
Knight e3, of course. Knight e3.
Yeah, knight e3.
Excellent. Entering the house. Now, Lokiti went knight g3. I mean, I don't know how far they were prepared both, but they played very imaginatively. And Surya also played brilliant. Here he took rook takes g4. That's the best thing to take. You can take so many things.
So he could give a check. He could take this, but he decided.
No, but the thing is, I think you know what this how to explain his moves. I think the way to explain his moves, for example, rook takes g4, is that look, knight g2 is there, knight c2 is there, queen c3 is there, knight h. Like these are all ideas that are there, but they are mutually exclusive. If you play knight g2, you cannot play knight c2. If you play knight c2, you cannot play knight g2. If you play queen c3, you cannot play knight h4. The only move that is not mutually exclusive is rook g4 because it's useful there. There's nothing else you can do there.
Right.
Maybe that's how you can rationalize.
The threat is stronger than execution concept. Yeah, like.
Yes, I guess that's how best you can rationalize these first top engine choices in this insanely hard complicated position.
Yeah.
Brilliant game that he played. Rook g4, rook f2. The guy went rook f2. Now Surya went knight a to c4. And he is a piece down, but this massive d pawn and the much safer king on c8 makes sure the position is dynamically equal. While, of course, practically, I mean, who would not prefer black? And this is why I love these positions for Winawer positions, because while they are objectively equal, maybe with computer against computer, of course, you want to play with a safe king, no? Again, you want to be the cool guy who sacrificed the piece. So
absolutely, I mean, it's a nightmare for white to play this position if he's unprepared. It's like you are walking through a landmine and suddenly something will blow up in your face. So
yeah, but even if you are prepared, at some point your preparation ends and then you are back to the minefield. So queen b3, b6, and now white made a losing inaccuracy. Oh, yeah, losing mistake. But I mean, position is like he has to play rook b2, give that exchange, but try to bring more defenders in. Control the d2 square.
Did he go queen b5 trying to exchange?
Then there is knight c2. He didn't do that. Knight c2 is very strong. Rook c2 dc. Queen c5 bc, and then rook d1 comes, and it's very bad. I have rook for 2 pieces, but c2 pawn is alive and is a monster. He went 25 queen a4. Here Surya played okay. He got equal position, objectively equal balanced position, but he had here a finisher, which he didn't find, but it was very hard. Rook takes g3 is the move. Remove the defender. Hg, the knight takes f1. Followed by d2. And it's all false. Like, look, now it's like you have set up these dominoes, yeah? And now you knock them one, and then all of them fall. So d2, bishop d2, then knight d2, then another thing falls. And if rook d2, then it's just rook d2. So, it's just lost.
The game gets over so quickly.
Yeah, so he just had to take and d2, but it's hard to release the tension when you're keeping it for so long. But it's important quality, and that is also what how very often you have to play. And one time I had a game with Magnus Carlsen. I remember very clearly. It was exactly what he did. He maintained the tension. He maintained the tension. He maintained the tension. He got me used to that kind of. Okay, I was like, it was hard because my position was unpleasant, similar position to what white has, unpleasant position. I had a slightly weak king, and I was calculating every time captures. What if he takes this, he takes that? He played king h8 with black. Then he made another small move, another, and already okay. After 3 small moves, I was used. Okay, we're gonna play the small moves. Okay, fine. That moment, I make a mistake, and then he does it. He trades, and suddenly it's bad for me. You understand? So it's very important to combine. It is okay. Usually computers do it well. For human, it's very hard to combine. This keeping the tension and then releasing it right here. Rook g3, knight f1, d2. But you have to, as white, you have to always be ready for both. That's a nightmare.
True.
You have to be ready for keeping the tension when you are for a move like king b8, when you still have the king issue, but also for a move like rook g3. Now Surya released the tension differently. He played knight c2, rook c2, dc. Queen c2, knight e3. I'll show the game a little bit longer. Eventually, Surya won. It was a very long game, but I'll show the game a bit longer because I like few next moves. Now he plays Queen E4. And here Surya played very nice, very nice. I'll let you to try and find it. It's very beautiful. Just for this, I'll show the game.
In the chat also, please try to solve this. I'm not going to suffer alone here. Surya's moves are very tough. Rook D1 is the first check that comes to mind. Doesn't look good after King E2. Then the next move that comes to mind is Knight C2 check, Knight G2 check, Knight F1. But there is always Queen A8 check, which I have to be careful about.
Sagar, 1 second. You can think for a second. I'll be back, yeah?
Yeah.
Just give me 10 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Bishop A6 is also a big threat. There are so many issues here.
Okay, Sagar, it's hard. It's hard. I'll be honest, it's hard. Did you see it?
No, but Bishop A6 is also a threat. So I'm actually wondering if I should defend here or attack.
You have to WWSD here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll help you out. Rook D1 check is the first move.
Okay, Rook D1, King E2. That seemed like the only way because there were no other moves, perhaps. But now you need to get your queen somehow to attack there. But you can't move the knight because King into D1 is hanging. The other rook here. Oh, this other rook also should join in the party, but it's very difficult. Like, it might take 2 moves to get it from G8 to D8.
Yeah, it's very hard. Look, you have to.
WWSD.
You made the wrong assumption. You said you can't move the knight because D1 is hanging.
Right.
That was the wrong assumption.
So can I go knight F1, knights?
Knight F1 is King D1.
Knight D5. Knight
Yes,
D5.
brilliant. Look, not only do you close from Queen A8 check, you also thread a Knight C3 check. Right. Very, very beautiful resource. Incredible imagination. Now although he missed a win before, this game is not 100% engine perfect, but still that he found this makes it a very nice game beyond the opening. Very beautiful find. Bishop D2, white went, only move. And now...
WWSD would be rook into D2.
First line, WWLCOD. What would LC0 do? LC0 goes rook takes D2. Says black is slightly better. Rook D2, King D2, I think it says Queen C3, but Rook F4, Queen D3 is there, and Knight E2. So, okay, but Queen C3 first and then Rook F4. Anyway, Queen C3 actually King D1, you have to go King D8 because Rook C1 is there.
But I think that's why Surya must have not gone for this.
No, but Surya had a very nice. Surya had gone for an alternative idea, which is very beautiful. Also, he just liked the other thing. He went Rook takes B1.
Okay.
Queen takes B1, and now he again used that same motif. And here you should find the best move.
This time it definitely looks like you have a nice position because white has no real threats.
Yeah, white has no threats, but white has 2 bishops for a rook and a pawn. And material-wise, white is material up. Yeah. So black has to, and white king is pretty safe, no? Like pretty safe. You have not so many pieces around it, so you are material down with black, so you have to prove it still. At least the safest king is safe, but you have to prove it. And Surya does it very nicely here.
Can we go Queen G1 with the idea of Queen into H2? That seems like one idea.
Can you ask me? Can you ask?
She said to come.
Let me see.
F4.
1 second here, guys. 1 second.
Sure.
Meanwhile, you can think it's still very interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking Rook F4, Bishop F4, Knight F4 doesn't have enough compensation here.
You can come, yeah.
And Queen G1
if it's fine, can you check?
Seems like a possibility.
Yeah, more or less.
Let's see what the chat is saying. Rook F4, Queen C3 in the chat. Oh, Queen C3.
No, but then the take.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah. I was thinking here Queen G1 with the idea of taking on
Sorry?
H2.
When shall we?
Yeah, quite soon. Yeah.
Yeah, Anish, we'll finish this in like next 5 minutes. So because
No. There's no rush. There's no rush. Just my wife's asking about our lunch plans. That's why. But no, it's all good. We've seen, by the way, already most of the lines. But here, he used the fork in a very nice way. He played rook takes f4.
I was like, this is not enough, but
No,
you can
but knight
take the
c3.
c3
There's the
pawn.
fork. There's the fork. Yes, and after rook takes f4. Okay, white was fighting well. He played queen d3. Rook f2 check. Queen d3 is a very good move, trying to consolidate. Rook f2 check. He went king to d1. And here Surya could take on h2. He took on a3, also good. And after queen a3, white went queen a6 check. Queen takes a6, bishop a6. And we got an endgame. White has two bishops. Black has a pawn and the rook. And because of the piece activity for black, I don't even know how to assess it. Surya won it. I am not sure black is on the pushing side or something like that. I think it's computer says it's equal. It's very complex, but white has a lot of weak pawns. Eventually, he lost them.
Yeah.
And black has an outside potentially a passer. Yeah, a pawn. Eventually, it will start running. It will be very hard to stop. This is what happened in the game. At this point, it's a complicated endgame, which is approximately balanced.
Right.
And Surya eventually won it. Very, very nice game. Again, he had that rook takes g3 win. But he also, what he played was also very interesting. And this is a typical Winawer game. Completely crazy. But what is a recurring theme, and that's why I like these positions, is that it is black who has a safe king and white who has a weak king. And while black has always something to prove because he's either pawn down or 2 pawns down, or white has the bishop pair, he has to prove something. But with a safer king, personally, it's easier for me to find a good continuation. And yes, I think this is one of. Before we finish, I would like to show one game I played. After I prepared this course, I played some online games with it also.
Oh, wow. So nice. This is after the course. I thought it will be...
No, it was after I made the course, but before I published it, before they published it. So it was in the Winawer, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, bishop b4, e5, c5, a3, take, knight e7. And now we looked at the crazy Winawer with queen g4, but of course there's also the quiet one where position gets close. So this guy went h4. It was a blitz game. I was working on this course, all day long that day, and then I wanted to relax a bit. I went online. I played a pretty high-rated grandmaster. I think he is some
played Blitz.
Latin America in Blitz. Yes, I played on chess.com, some Latin American guy.
Okay.
Some strong grandmaster, 2600 grandmaster, and he played here h4. I played queen c7, h5, h6. This is also what I recommend. He played here bishop d2, which is one of the moves. He wants to stop cd, queen c3, yeah? Prepare queen g4.
Okay.
The main way to do it is rook b1, according to theory. But bishop d2 is a similar idea. I played here knight c6, knight bc6, queen g4.
Anish, if there's any moment where you made a very nice move, I can try and guess it. I would.
Yes. For sure. Yeah, but for now, knight f5, just to show typical. You need to protect the g7 pawn, very importantly. And now he went knight f3.
Just for the viewers to understand, because some of them are quite they are not well versed. Here, queen g4, knight f5, trying to save this pawn. This
bishop
way
d3
will not work. Yeah, because of bishop d3. But in this position where we are, where Anish went this way, now knight f5, bishop d3 does not, I think, work, because I think you can just castle also, right?
No, but castle.
Castle. No.
Castle. Generally, I try to avoid. Yeah, as I told you, conceptually.
But then cd4. Okay. cd4, bishop f5. You have queen e5 check.
Yeah. No, I think so. Let me just to be sure we don't speak nonsense. I am pretty sure that that's the point. Let's just make sure that's the case, because otherwise, you might get a message. With Surya, we once were sloppy, and we made some kind of mistake, and then he got message from David Navarra saying that big email. Saying that we confused stuff, so I want now to be sure. No, bishop d3 cd, there is no compensation.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's chess is concrete. That's why against queen g4 there is no universal recipe. There are even positions very rarely, where usually white would go a4, waste the time on the flank, and they go queen g4. When then actually I say to castle. Because white spent extra time on the queen side, and we can hit back with f6 quickly. True. So there is no universal recipe, and that's why you have to study openings, because it cannot teach you in 1 hour even, let alone 10 minutes. I cannot say put it there, that's it. Like, no, in this position, you have to put it there because there is c takes d4. In that position, not knight f5 because there is no c takes d4. And it's all very concrete. Yeah. But the more ideas you know, the more you can figure out yourself that, okay, here, of course, I didn't remember, but I knew, okay, knight f5, bishop d3, c d4 works. So I can play knight f5. He went knight f3 instead.
Yeah, makes sense.
And here I went for the for this move c4.
Yes.
And the reason why it's okay here, usually you don't want to do it unprovoked. The reason why it's okay is because bishop on d2 is misplaced in these positions because white wants to go a4 and then put the bishop on a3. So that's why sometimes in these positions, when the bishop is on c1 in the course, I recommend to play the move queen a5, provoke bishop d2, and then close. But here he's already on d2, so I went c4, he went queen f4. I went here. I was very well prepared that day. You know, I had all the ideas sharp in my head, and I played this move. You can play just bishop d7 long castle. Yeah, it's simple plan. But I played queen b6. Very, very subtle move. Very nice. I want to go queen b2. Use the fact that his rooks are not connected, and then because he cannot castle now, you understand? And queen b2, he cannot play rook fc1. Like because of that, I can play queen b6. A very rare move, but sometimes it's very strong. I want to go queen b2.
If he plays bishop e2, queen
b2
queen b2 castles, then
queen c2 I have.
c2.
Yeah, possibly I have that, yes, and I play queen e4 later. So he went bishop c1. Now I played queen a5, queen d2 he played, okay. And now typical idea, queen a4.
Queen a4, stopping a4.
It is not strictly necessary to do this, but when possible it's good to stop a4 and log the c1 bishop. Now, a very nice game happened. He went g4, knight f7, knight h4. Now, look, he played it a very naive way. Well, how to say naive? That's the good thing about this close position. That even sometimes, there was one game that Karakin lost with white to a much lower rated player. He got completely outplayed. Because these positions, it's not so much how strong you are. Like, it doesn't matter. You can be Magnus Carlsen and Garry Kasparov together, even an engine. Or no, okay, engine is best example. But if you can be Garry Kasparov and Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura and Hare Krishna and did it all together in one. But if you don't know this particular position, it will bring you nothing. There is nothing to calculate. You understand? It's closed. You have to really understand what is going on in exactly these type of structures. So that's why you can be, let's say, maybe you are 1400 and you play against maybe 2000, but you can just outplay him. Because this is not like, this is chess, but this is a very specific area of chess, you know, where you can be better than your opponent, while you can be much worse everywhere else. Because sometimes I also play in the simultaneous and in such close positions with white, I play against 2000 rated player. And okay, usually I don't lose because then their conversion skills are not so good or the endgame skills, but I get close to losing because they just outplay me. You know, they've read some book, some old book where they tell you the plans, and it doesn't matter how weaker they are than me. They just know the plans. They know they go bishop d7, long castle, rook d8, and g6. And it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who I am. It will just happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why studying these positions, can give you like a gigantic, as compared to like the Sicilian or the Spanish that everybody understands, it can give you like a gigantic edge over your opponent. And you can compensate for an enormous difference in strength.
Absolutely. And that's also why, very well said. And actually, my worry here is that what should black do against white's f4, f5? I mean, I don't see any counterplay. I was looking at castle and f6.
Okay, Sagar. I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here to help you for that.
But g5 is coming also.
I'm right here. I'm right here to help you with that. So f4, bishop d7, f4.
Oh, you are okay. You don't mind this. So you're long castling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bishop h3. And also, this is why I managed to beat the strong grandmaster so easily in this game, as you will see, because he could not, like the fact that he's a good grandmaster, he's good in endgames and openings, like it's not relevant here. This is particular position. And I knew that he's ready for f5. And whenever white is ready for f5, there is this move g6. You have to fight for the f5 square. No, g6 is brilliant move.
Not f6, right? Here?
No, f6 is possible, but g6 is very strong here. Because, look, the way white has to meet g6 is to play, let's say 18th bishop e2 if he would go, imagine, instead of bishop h3. Bishop e2. And now he doesn't threaten f5, so I would not go g6. But now if I would go g6, he can play knight g2. Very strong. Knight reroutes to e3 and gh always rook h5, not gh, weakening f5 square, but he keeps all the squares protected, the f5 square, very important. So I knew this, and I knew that after bishop h3, if I play g6, he cannot do that, because now after knight g2, I just take on h5. He has to take with pawn, and I have this f5 square now fully in my control. Yeah, I mean, it's completely mine. There is no pawn. So g6, he has to go 8g, but 8g is very bad because it gives away that space on the king side. And then I go next h6, h5, and I get that f5 square after all. So this game, I mean, I was so happy because, I studied this position, and exactly the same time frame I played, and like completely outplayed my opponent here. He went short castle after hg, fg. Already, that bishop h3. Okay, look, the guy, he played very logical. Yeah, he knows f4, f5 plan. He played like grandmaster would play, who doesn't know this position. And it's already strategically lost almost for white. Can you believe this position? It's a disaster. He has no play anywhere. So I go here, rook d8 first. I could go h5. I go rook d8.
h5 or g5, both look
h5 is very important. 5 for the f5 square. Rook knight f3 he went, and I went h5. Knight g5 he went, because anyway he loses this f5 square. G bishop g4, knight f5. Now look, I have this queen on a4, stopping a4. The c1 bishop is totally dead, and I have the f5 square. The only question is if I can win and how I can win.
No, of course.
Obviously, I have full control.
Yeah.
So let's go quickly through the game. Rook f2, rook h4, rook g2. Also, of course, it was Blitz game. 3 minutes, 3 minutes each without increment. So it's not like I played. I just played some moves were, but okay, still they were good. Knight c7. I played actually very well. Knight c7. Knight f3, rook knight f3, rook h6, king f2, bishop. Here was a weird phase. I played bishop e8, bishop b2, bishop f7. I don't recall exactly why I played it. Rook ag1, rook fh8. See, transferring the bishop to e8 is usually good, but now the g6 pawn is there. I'm not clear what I achieved, but doesn't matter. I kept it there. You know why I did that? Because I didn't want to allow knight g5, knight f7. And now knight g5, I would go probably bishop g8 and protect the f7 and the e6 square.
Wow.
To keep the rooks on h6 and h8. I'm not sure, again, this is the best way to play, but it was my thought in the Blitz game. It worked out fine. Bishop c1, king b8. Now, he didn't know what to do because he cannot do anything. Nothing he can do. King b8, king e1. Okay, I played a5, king d1, king a7. I mean, it's just nice to include, I can do what I like. He just, queen f2, like king d1 does not even improve the position. He just stands. He doesn't know what to do. Queen b5. Now it's time to, he cannot go a4. I introduced the idea of getting the queen back. It's very typical. Sometimes you play even queen e8 in some positions. Your queen is on a4 doing this job of stopping a4, but one day it will get back into the game. It's not there forever. So I went queen b5. He went rook h2, wants to trade the rook. Okay, it doesn't help him. Rook takes h2, knight takes h2, queen b1. And now look, knight f3, I go bishop e8. Now my bishop goes to a4.
Nice.
I mean, it's complete light square domination. F5 square, this knight is just there forever.
This is the best advertisement for French. I mean, the way black pieces are moving around.
I mean, you can't imagine like how happy I was to play this game. At some point around here, I started to be so nervous because, okay, I don't care about this chess.com games, I absolutely don't care. Yeah. I play with Magnus Carlsen, for this $100,000 and all that. So I don't care how I play this casual game. But I was so ecstatic to play such a great French positional game. I was so nervous I would ruin it. You can't imagine. I wanted to win it so badly. Like I was so focused at this point. So he went knight g5, bishop a4. I mean, I was so ecstatic during the game. I was already I was extremely pleased with the way it goes.
Well, now you have a threat of knight e3, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Bishop takes c2. That's why, that's the point. I was happy. I sacrificed e6 pawn because knight takes e6. I had bishop takes c2, queen c2, knight e3. I even managed to calculate something because I was so focused on winning this game that nobody cares about.
This was
a casual
not
game.
On stream, right? This was not on
stream. It was at that time I was not yet streaming. It was before. It was just a casual game. I just wanted to relax from long evening. But then I got, I took it very personal. I thought, okay, this is really, really going very well. So he went rook e1. He wants to protect. And now, look, now I played rook h4. I was very happy. I forced bishop f5, knight f5. Knight e6. He wins this pawn. But now I have rook h3. Knight c5. He is trying to attack. Rook d3.
Ooh, nice.
It's